why didn't Tesla's board ultimately want to go through with taking the company private?
Well, it came at a recommendation from Elon to scrap the plan. As his team of advisors started trying to formulate how they would do it for him, he started to become concerned about some of the issues there, that the small investor wouldn't be able to come along with him, that some of those tech mutual funds, they would have to limit their size in a private Tesla because of some of their rules. And then also, some of those deep pockets that maybe would come on board would have some strings attached. So this concerned Elon, according to our reporting at the Wall Street Journal, and he started to express some doubts a weekend ago, and then delivered the bad news, or delivered the news, depending on how you feel about it, Thursday.
Galileo, I want to bring you in here. You initially thought that Tesla should not go private, then you changed your mind. My question for you is, should this make investors think twice about supporting Elon Musk, given that he sent this tweet out that said funding was secured? There were questions about whether or not that was true, and then him essentially pulling the plug at the end of something that he said almost 3 weeks ago to this day that he wanted to do. Doesn't that just call into question his judgment?
I mean, clearly the tweet was a mistake, and going private was a lot harder than he anticipated, as Tim just pointed out. But at the end of the day, I'm invested in Tesla because I think their future product roadmap is really strong, and the earnings and cash flow are going to justify a valuation that's much higher than we are today. So public or private, I really just think it's a sideshow. At the end of the day, it doesn't change any of the fundamentals of the company. And I've long said I just really support Tesla, whether they're public or private, and continue to believe that Elon will pick the right thing to do. So it's a little bit, frustrating to see all this media snafu and see everything take focus away from how well the Model 3 is actually doing in terms of market share, because I wish that's what people would be focused on.
Tim, do you think investors are going to now start focusing back on the original metrics that we were focusing on before this whole go private debacle of production goals? Do you think the next goals, the next milestones for Tesla are going to change, given that all of this is behind us now as well?
Even Elon Musk in his blog the other night alluded to and even said that this was becoming more distracting than he anticipated. And you have to remember, we're in a critical period for the company. He finally was able to demonstrate that Tesla can build 5,000 Model 3s in a single week at the end of June, and now is trying to show that he can do more than that rate on a continual weekly basis this quarter to start generating the kind of cash the company needs to become cash flow positive, and according to Elon, turn a profit this quarter. And that ability to turn a profit is something that investors are looking for, the signal that this is a company that's moving beyond just being a startup, beyond being a niche player, and could be a competitor against global automakers. And once that happens, there's a feeling that perhaps some of the pressure will go away. But in reality, Elon attracts a lot of attention. Tesla attracts a lot of attention, and there is going to be a lot more attention now that we've seen this 17-day saga.
Tim, let's stick on retail investors for a second and their role in all of this, because one of the details that I just love in your latest feature at the Journal that you wrote with your colleague Liz Hoffman is the idea that Elon Musk got this photo sent to him, essentially showing an elderly couple who were Tesla supporters, Tesla shareholders, and he forwarded that to a colleague and said that this made his day. Take us into what would happen to retail investors had this gone private, and what role they played in Elon Musk's decision to keep it public.
He had hoped to figure out a way to bring those small fries into a private Tesla, and he was hearing back from his advisors that just wasn't going to be possible. And it was disturbing to him, and he was saddened by it. And you have to remember that Elon Musk is a guy that likes he likes that attention from small investors, from buyers of his cars. He gets excited about that. He likes the enthusiasm for his idea. He thinks that enthusiasm helps bring attention to his mission of making electric cars, and SpaceX going to Mars. And so, it's part of kind of who he is at the core, and the idea that wouldn't be there would probably be troubling to him.
Galileo, let's bring you back in here. One of the reasons Elon Musk cited why a private Tesla would make sense is so that they didn't have to necessarily report out short-term goals and focus on the short term as much, and instead focus on the long-term health of Tesla. How do you think this whole story of going private and then not going private will impact the transparency of Elon Musk and of management for Tesla for investors like yourself?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because I think Tesla has an interesting balance right now of trying to hit short-term profitability with keeping that focus on the long term. So I think they've backed themselves into a little bit of a corner here. But I always get back to the production targets here. And I even wish Tesla wasn't trying to force profitability this quarter. But, Electric just reported today, it looks like Tesla's on track to build about 75,000 cars this quarter. That would be a triple from Q3 2017, up 40% sequentially. So, I mean, the core engine of this business, how many cars can they build, is growing at an incredible rate, almost over 100 or almost 200% year over year, or faster than that. And so that's what really gets me excited and what I keep coming back to. But I really am curious to see if Tesla will continue this narrative of we're going to be profitable versus raising a ton of money and putting it all into CapEx to start building for the Model Y and the Semi.
Tim, any indication that now that Tesla's going to stay public, Elon Musk will sort of take a more mature, potentially look at short sellers, ignore short sellers, or treat investors on earnings calls a little better? I mean, have a little more patience for the process of public markets?
Elon signaled during last earnings call that he was apologetic for the way he treated those analysts in May. Our reporting suggests that board members have been on him regarding the way he's been using Twitter. You have to remember he got into that spat with the Thai cave rescuer back in July, really kind of creating all these distractions that the company probably doesn't need or want at this period of time. It's kind of this double-edged sword. He has the ability to attract attention and kind of ignite supporters through Twitter. He believes that it's a tool that allows him to kind of cut through the noise and send what his message or the message he wants to out there. But on the flip side of that, he's working these incredible hours, he's exhausted, and sometimes is sending out messages that he later regrets.
Galileo, I think we've asked you this before probably, but at this point, I know you're supportive of Elon Musk. At this point, how much of a risk do you think Elon Musk is to the overall health of Tesla?
I mean, I've said time and time again, he's the biggest asset I think the company has and is the reason I am invested in the company. And I think if he ever did something to materially change the earnings and cash flow trajectory that I think is coming from the future product roadmap, then I'd start to get concerned. But at the end of the day, even all the tweets that we've seen recently and everything he's done hasn't changed anything about the future of Tesla and their products and what I think this company can become. So I really just think it's all a sideshow. And that's actually why I bought shares 2 weeks ago at $334, because like the intrinsic value of this company, like I said, they're building 3 times as many cars as they were a year ago. I think that fundamentally correlates to increased earnings power. And so I think the intrinsic value of Tesla just keeps rising here, and Elon's tweets are having no impact on that intrinsic value, and it's just a sideshow.
Yeah, but Galileo, I think this is a sideshow that Elon Musk brought on himself. He has nobody else to blame for this sideshow but himself.
Totally. But my point is, like, I'm not focusing on it because it's not actually changing the value of Tesla, and I agree with you 100%. Like the missed Model 3 production targets, the tweet about funding secured, all of this is self-inflicted and it's part of the drama, but you just take the good with the bad. Elon Musk, I believe, is a once-in-a-generation visionary. I heard this great analogy that Kathy Wood from ARK Investments made, that imagine if Steve Jobs had Twitter, all these crazy quotes he had about killing Android and spending every dollar Apple had. Like, imagine if he had Twitter and just tweeted those. I think people forget that we're living in this new digitally connected, everything's over scrutinized era. And that's also a big factor at play that makes Elon Musk seem a lot crazier than he is in reality relative to these sort of visionary CEOs that we see.
Tim, weigh in here. Do you agree with Galileo?
Well, he is this interesting dynamic here, right? In a lot of ways, Tesla and Elon Musk are intertwined. They're personas of each other that people like him invest because they're excited about Elon Musk and his vision for the future of transportation. You can't really invest in SpaceX. So if you're excited about what he's doing there, this is kind of a way to get into the Elon world. And that you can see that kind of excitement in the stock over the past couple of years. You remember when they overtook Ford in market cap and then rivaled General Motors. If you look at kind of the investment thesis there, it's really on kind of what the future is, whereas a company like Ford is being judged by investors of what they're doing today. And so the traditional automakers are very frustrated with Elon's ability to create that enthusiasm. So then when investors see things like in the last few weeks with him being clearly exhausted and making some comments that maybe unnerve some investors, that scares some of them, because this company, Tesla, and Elon Musk are so intertwined.
Tim Higgins, reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Galileo Russell, founder of HyperChange TV. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see both of you.